In the depths of the city, where the underground veins of the subway system pulsed with the heartbeat of urban life, there was a platform that whispered secrets to those who dared to listen. Jada, a 26-year-old freelance artist with dreams as vibrant as her latest exhibit, found herself alone on this very platform, her footsteps echoing in the eerie silence of the late-night station. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting dancing shadows that seemed to reach out with ghostly fingers. Jada clutched her portfolio closer, her knuckles white against the worn leather. She had stayed later than intended at her exhibit, caught up in the thrill of her successful showing. Now, as the last train's rumble faded into the distance, she realized with a sinking feeling that she had missed her ride home. The digital clock on the platform blinked 1:47 AM, its red numbers a stark contrast to the dim, grimy tiles. Jada pulled out her phone, hoping to call a rideshare, but the screen remained stubbornly dark, battery drained. A chill ran down her spine as she realized just how alone she truly was. Suddenly, a sound echoed from the tunnel, a rhythmic tapping like footsteps on the tracks. Jada's heart began to race. The last train had left, hadn't it? Yet something was coming, the sound growing louder with each passing second. She took an involuntary step back, her eyes fixed on the yawning darkness of the tunnel mouth. The tapping grew closer, a steady beat that seemed to sync with her racing pulse. Jada's mind raced through possibilities, a maintenance worker perhaps. But at this hour, in this forsaken corner of the subway system, the rational part of her brain screamed at her to run, to find the stairs and escape to the street above. But her feet remained rooted to the spot, as if the very tiles beneath her had come alive and ensnared her. From the inky blackness of the tunnel, a figure emerged. At first, Jada's mind refused to process what her eyes were seeing. It was humanoid in shape, but moved with an unnatural, jerky gait. Its limbs seemed too long, joints bending at impossible angles as it crawled along the tracks. The creature's skin, if it could be called that, was a sickly, pale gray, stretched taut over a skeletal frame. Jada's scream caught in her throat as the thing lifted its head. Where eyes should have been, there were only empty, cavernous sockets that seemed to stare directly into her soul. Its mouth opened in a silent scream, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. The creature continued its relentless approach, each movement bringing it closer to the edge of the platform. Jada's survival instincts finally kicked in, and she stumbled backward, nearly tripping over her own feet in her haste to put distance between herself and the monstrosity. As she backed away, her eyes never leaving the approaching horror, Jada noticed something that made her blood run cold. The creature wasn't alone. Behind it, more shapes were emerging from the tunnel, a writhing mass of limbs and faces, each more terrifying than the last. They moved as one, a tide of nightmares surging towards her. Jada's back hit the wall of the platform, and she realized with growing terror that she had nowhere left to run. The stairs leading up to the street seemed miles away, an impossible distance with the horde of creatures between her and escape. The first creature reached the edge of the platform, its elongated fingers grasping at the tiles as it began to pull itself up. Jada could hear a low, guttural sound emanating from its throat. Not quite a growl, not quite a moan, but something in between that sent shivers down her spine. In that moment of pure, unadulterated fear, Jada's mind conjured images of all the urban legends she had ever heard about the subway system. Stories of forgotten tunnels, of people who had vanished without a trace, of things that lived in the darkness between stations. She had always dismissed them as silly tales meant to scare tourists and children. Now, faced with the impossible horror before her, she realized that some legends had their roots in terrifying truth. The creature's head emerged over the edge of the platform, its mouth opening wider than should have been possible. Jada pressed herself against the wall, her eyes squeezed shut, waiting for the inevitable. But instead of the pain she expected, she felt a rush of air and heard the screech of brakes. Her eyes flew open to see a train pulling into the station, its bright lights cutting through the darkness and momentarily blinding her. When her vision cleared, the platform was empty. No creatures, no writhing mass of horrors, just the usual late-night grime and flickering lights. Jada stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest as the train doors slid open with a hiss. Was it all a hallucination? A waking nightmare brought on by exhaustion and the stress of her exhibit. She couldn't be sure, but she wasn't about to stay and find out. With shaking legs, she stumbled onto the train, collapsing into the nearest seat. As the doors closed and the train began to move, Jada caught a glimpse of something in the tunnel, a flash of pale, elongated limbs disappearing into the darkness. She blinked, and it was gone. The train carried her away from the platform, but Jada couldn't shake the feeling that she had narrowly escaped something truly horrifying. She huddled in her seat, clutching her portfolio like a shield, her mind reeling from what she had experienced, or thought she had experienced. As the train rattled through the tunnels, Jada's artist's mind began to process what she had seen. The creatures, with their impossible anatomy and nightmarish features, were unlike anything she had ever imagined. Despite her fear, or perhaps because of it, she felt an overwhelming urge to capture their essence on canvas. When she finally reached her stop and emerged onto the street above, the pre-dawn air felt like a blessing on her skin. Jada took deep breaths, trying to calm her racing heart. The city around her was beginning to wake up, the first early risers making their way to work or returning from night shifts. The normalcy of it all felt surreal after what she had experienced. As she walked home, Jada couldn't help but look over her shoulder, half expecting to see pale figures lurking in the shadows. She knew that sleep would be impossible, so instead, she headed straight for her studio. With trembling hands, she set up a fresh canvas and began to paint. Hours passed in a blur of frenzied creativity. When Jada finally stepped back from her work, the sun was streaming through her studio windows. On the canvas before her was a scene of horror and beauty, the subway platform, bathed in an otherworldly light with creatures emerging from the darkness. She had captured their terrifying grace, the impossible angles of their bodies, the empty sockets that seemed to stare directly at the viewer. Jada knew that this painting would never be part of her public collection. It was too raw, too real, too close to the truth that lurked beneath the city streets. But she also knew that she would never forget that night, or the realization that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't explain away. As she cleaned her brushes and prepared for the day ahead, Jada couldn't shake the feeling that her encounter on the platform had changed her. She saw the world differently now, always aware of the thin veil between reality and the unknown horrors that might lie just beyond our perception. From that day forward, Jada's art took on a darker, more mysterious tone. Her exhibits became known for their ability to unsettle viewers, to make them question the nature of reality. And though she never spoke of what she had seen that night, the memory of it lived on in every brushstroke, every shadow she painted. For those who viewed her work, there was always a sense that they were looking at something more than just paint on canvas. They were glimpsing a world hidden from ordinary eyes, a world where the last train might leave, but something kept walking the tunnel. And so, dear viewer, the next time you find yourself alone on a subway platform late at night, remember Jada's story. Keep your eyes on the tunnel, your ears attuned to the sounds echoing in the darkness. And whatever you do, don't step off the platform. For in the depths of the underground, there are things that wait, things that hunger, things that were never meant to see the light of day. If you've made it this far and your heart is still pounding, if you feel the chill of the subway air on your skin and hear the whisper of something moving in the shadows, then you know the power of true horror. Drop a like and follow for more stories that will drag you into the depths of fear. Stories that will make you question the safety of the world around you. because sometimes the most terrifying tailies are the ones that could be true.